Hello and welcome to this JMC weekly webinar. Today is November 30th, 2022. It is officially Christmas season. Today we are talking about understanding contacts and how they're utilized. All right, complete contact records allow all parts of JMC office to work efficiently. Contacts can be associated with students in a variety of contexts, such as primary, lunch, emergency. Today, we will explore the relationships between the different types of contacts and discuss how they are entered into JMC. Here's what is on the agenda today: contacts and how they're used, viewing all contacts. So let's meet the team. I am Sherry. I am part of the training team at JMC. I was a high school office pro for many years. We switched to JMC and now I help train people on JMC. I'm happy to be here in Racine, Wisconsin is where I live. And joining me is Lois and Denise. Lois, do you want to say hi first?
Sure. I'm Lois Tyler. I am in Northeast Iowa, little Westgate, Iowa. I am an office professional as well, and then I work part-time with JMC as part of the CSS and the training team.
Awesome. And then Denise.
Sorry, couldn't unmute myself. Denise Drew, I live in Decorah, Iowa, and I am a support the training expert, and I have been with JMC since August.
Awesome. Yes, we all have lots of experience with contacts, so that's why we're here today. Please hold all your questions until the Q&A session at the end of each section. If you do need to communicate with the host, use the Q&A chat feature that you should see on your toolbar. Contacts and how they're used. A contact in JMC is any person, typically an adult, who will have an influence on the student's life. These could be parents, guardians, grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors, babysitters, health professionals, and others. Without defining contacts for students, you would be unable to view siblings or support family accounting for meal and tuition and fee accounts. Student contact associations allow the JMC software to funnel student information to the correct contacts based on the contact type. We are able to effectively help you manage your family and contact demographic data. For example, primary contacts have access to student information through JMC Family. Lunch contacts are allowed to make account deposits. Primary contacts receive student mailings and emails such as report cards and schedules. When associating a contact with a student on the View Student Data page, choose from the contact types on the following pages. The first one is primary contacts. Primary contacts are responsible for the student's day-to-day well-being, and activities. In most cases, these are parents, step-parents, and guardians, but in some cases, it could be grandparents. The second type is secondary contacts. Secondary contacts are responsible for the student, but are not the primary caretakers. Typically, these folks are non-custodial aunts or uncles, grandparents, neighbors, or babysitters. Lunch fee organization contacts. These contacts are responsible for making payments to the student's account. The lunch contact is responsible for paying the account balance for the student's breakfast, lunch, or a la carte items, or for applying for free and reduced status. The fee organizational contact is responsible for paying any fees, registration, athletic activity that the student accrues. Then we have another type called other contacts. JMC supports even more contact types. So these are all the other ones. Emergency. Those contacts are who we call when a parent or guardian is unavailable during an emergency. Doctor, the student's primary care physician. Storm, where a student would go during inclement weather. And we know a lot of places have that in effect. And then others, contacts who don't fit in any of the categories. Let's take a live look at contacts and how they're used. So I'm here in JMC, the home screen, the View Student Data page. So I always like to use John, my 10th grader, as my sample. Here's the student, and you'll notice here the different types of contacts. He actually has two primary contacts, dad and mom. And then he also has a fee contact, a lunch contact, an emergency, and an organizational contact. So he has all these different types. And right here are the different pull downs where you can see this is where you would make that change to the contact. Lois, do you have anything to add on these primary contacts and such?
Yeah, I just think a nice thing to point out is, it says primary 1 of 2, and then it has dad. Well, that dad comes from that description. It's just a nice way of, a quick look, like when I see primary, which one I'm picking. Oh, primary 1 is dad, easy, I can go to that one. If I wanted mom, I'd know right away I want the other one, so.
Yeah, and what's nice too is you're right, you can type whatever makes sense in here. So that's what I like. This is not defined. This description can be whatever you choose, and then it shows up right here. You're right, super helpful to help make organization that works for you.
Right. And while you're right there, like when you pulled up that primary 1 of 2 and dad, you can see on the right under the quick links that it's linked to the siblings.
Yep.
So that's another thing if you have siblings and you like, I'm not sure if John is he linked to these other kids? Well, that's a quick way to know. All those kids listed there is what's linked to that contact. So if you go to that primary 2 of 2 and you clicked mom, you'll notice there's no kids linked. Oh, there is. So there's two different ones linked.
Yep, but
so they don't have to be the exact same kids.
No. What's unique about JMC2 as well is for maintaining records, you maintain the household under the contact, which I like, and then you can link the students. So it's really helpful to think of a contact as a household. You'll notice it has an address.
Right,
and
that's a good.
Here's another quick link right here. If I wanted to edit this specific contact, on the right here, I have the edit contact quick link. And like we were saying, this is where it's one household. They can have multiple email addresses and multiple phone numbers, but it's one physical address location. And this one person and this household can be a primary for one family. They can also be an emergency for, say, a neighbor, right? They could be a secondary contact for, let's say, a niece or a nephew, but you're only maintaining one record, which I think is super helpful.
And do we want to maybe just show them real quick how we would link somebody to dad demo? Can we pick a kid that doesn't have him and just, for example, link him as a secondary or as an emergency and say,
let's find somebody. Let's just do Abby. Should we try Abby? Abby would work.
Yeah.
So then so what do you want me to do with Abby? You want to make dad a secondary contact, or what?
Maybe just make that demo dad a different contact for that person.
So the first thing I would do is find an empty contact, right here.
Yep.
And then do you do the type first, or do you change a contact first? What is your?
I do it both ways. Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead, and this empty contact, I'm going to change the contact right here. And you see this pop-up window comes up. We were choosing demo dad. Is that who we were deciding?
Yep.
So right here, I find him in my drop-down list. And then I say, okay. Now he just kind of defaults to other, but I'm going to make him the secondary contact. You see how once I choose that, and I want to say that he's the neighbor. Am I spelling that right? No, I didn't. There we go. So I made that he's now a secondary contact. So I haven't changed dad's information at all, but he is now a secondary contact for Abby, and he's the neighbor. The thing I have to remember to do is save that. So I'm going to hit save.
And always the double check is once you'll see that like it switched that contact. It went back to primary.
Yeah,
so even though it's saved, right? Yeah.
And then there he is. If I click this, there's dad. Right
Perfect.
there. So now he is a secondary neighbor contact for Abby. It's just that easy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Let's go back to the presentation. So are there any questions? Did we have any questions pop up, Lois?
Nope, I haven't seen any.
Okay, let's keep going. Viewing all contacts. Do you need to print a list of all primary contacts in your district or a list of emergency contacts with their related students? Print a contact directory report in JMC Office for a comprehensive list of all the contacts in your JMC data. Select the contact type and view their address, phone numbers, associated students, including their grade level and even cell numbers. Everyone's contact info at your fingertips. To view the contact directory, get the contact directory report in JMC Office by going to Attendance, Contacts, Print Contact Directory. Step 1, select the contact type from the Print Directory Type drop-down list to filter what specific type you'd like. Step 2, click the Preview button to preview the report of the selected type. Here's a helpful tip. The report will list each contact's name, the students they are associated with, their address, phone numbers that you may need to look up. Step 3, click the Print button to print the report, or the Export button to export it to a CSV text file. Another helpful tip. The contact directory will be printed for the selected contact type. Need to report a different contact type? You just repeat the steps and you select a different type from this dropdown right here. All right, let's take a quick live look at that. So to level up, I'm back at the home screen. Attendance, contacts, right here, print contact directory. So here are your choices. Notice it was all the ones they mentioned right here. A typical one that we would do is primary, preview, and this is what they're talking about. It shows the contact name, if there's any siblings, the address, phone numbers. Really helpful, and you can either print this or export it to a CSV file. And then if I just wanted secondary contacts, there they go. Just emergency contacts right here. Super helpful. I just like how this is. Oh, this is the one we just added. This is what I wanted to bring up. See how Abby, we added dad as a secondary. He's on this report as a secondary. He's on this report as an emergency. But again, the one contact record, but they're different things to different students. Do you have anything to add on this report, Lois?
Nope, I just think this is something that, each district, some people like to print this out and have it just in case internet goes down or that kind of thing. Sometimes you think, well, why would I need this? So there's different reasons some districts print this out.
Yep. And then another way to get to the edit contact screen is the same part. So attendance contacts, edit contacts right here. And this is where you can pull up a specific contact here. Another place where you can go and update this information. And you'll notice here, this dad demo, he is the secondary contact to Abby, right, that we added, and he is the organization contact for John. You'll notice here too, there's a space for special notes. Yeah, super helpful.
And another note, that note from parent, that is also where in registration, if they put a note in there in that registration process, that's where it's saved. So if you ever accept it, you accept things and you're like, oh, I don't remember what they said. They said something about bus. This is where you can go and look for that.
That's super helpful. Do we have any, we had some other tips I think we wanted to add on this in this presentation. Let's look at mom. So mom has some siblings. See how she's the primary contact. And her name's Dorothy Day. I just wanted to look at Dorothy. I couldn't remember her name. So I'm going to go back to attendance, contacts, edit contacts. Dorothy, here you go. Now Dorothy's got a lot more. See how she's the primary contact for John and Tamara and Judy. And she's the emergency contact for Jennifer. She's the lunch contact for Tamara. So here you can see she's a lot of different hats for different students. Shows right here, which is super helpful.
I just had a question come in from Cheryl, and she's asked, what if there is more than one emergency contact at a different resident?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I'm hearing is there's more than, then you can add more than one emergency contact. So we can add for John, let's make another emergency contact. So I'd find another empty contact. And let's just find let me just type in a name. How about Sean and Bill Smith? And I'm going to go ahead and make them an emergency contact. And they are friends. And I'm going to save it. Be sure to save it. So now when we look under John, he has this one and this one. And this one, well, you can go, so this is Grandpa. So I could come in here and save Grandpa. So now, at least when I pull this down, you'll see now they have 2 emergency contacts. We have Grandpa and we have friends. Again, you could make this, you could say this is Mr. Smith or whatever. So there, you can have as many. I mean, we have how many? We have 10 contact spaces in this. So you could actually have 3 more emergency contacts. Anything to add, Lois, on that?
And maybe just show them, like, let's say, you know, we're adding an emergency contact that isn't a contact in JMC.
Oh,
I know that it seems really obvious, but, you know, this is a brand new person that is going to be entered into JMC.
Oh, sure, no problem. So we would still find an empty one. And I'm going to add a new contact right here, correct?
Yep. I mean, again, it's a quick link. It's super easy, but.
Yep. So I'm just going to put me. I don't know if I'm in here or not, but maybe if I
I was going to say, spell your name right.
Yep. Now I want Christmas cards. I'm putting in my street. And I'll put in, then you put in the email address, phone. I'm gonna at least put my phone number. Yeah, you know, that's not my phone number, right? All right, and I'm gonna save this. So here you go. See how it defaults to other? That's fine. I'm gonna change this to an emergency. And I'm going to put, I'm just gonna say I'm a aunt. Again, you could put whatever you want. Be sure to save that. So now John has 3 emergency contacts. Aunt, right here. Should we show them about merging contacts?
I think that's helpful because
Yeah, let's do that.
it's something that happens quite a bit. And
yep. So you'll go under attendance contacts, merge contacts. Should we start with the merge contact submission or the merge contacts?
I would say just merge contacts.
Let's try this one. Submission is when there's a new contact submitted. Right. But here we go. This is the merge contacts. And this is where you can find, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find one. Let's just, for example, this is not accurate, but let's just say that Dad Demo and Mom Dad Jones were the same. You know that because perhaps they have the same name, the same address, city, you know, maybe one slight thing is off, but they're pretty much the same. By you pulling up both of these contacts, you can say, you know what, they are the same. And then what you would do is you would click the merge button. So now instead of having the 2 duplicate records, it merges it into one, which is super helpful.
Right. And the thing to think about it is it's just like a book. Whatever on the left, when you fold it, just like when you turn a page in the book, that's what takes over and it copies what's on it. Like it, how am I saying that? I'm not saying that right, but
so
it overrides what's on the right.
So Dad Demo will be copied over to Mom Dad. So this, what's on the left, the Dad Demo will overwrite what is on the Mom Dad Jones, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you for that. And so if they're, you know, if you looked them up and you're like, oh, whoop, this isn't the one, just go back and type in the one on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
you know, you just.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I would just do this. I know this, I'm not doing the right one, but yeah. So just flip it. So just keep in mind that what is on the left will become what's on the right. So it'll become one, but it'll be whatever is on the left. So yeah. So yeah, super helpful. And then of course, if there was something in this field, you know, everything's the same, just want to add something, then you would just go into that contact and just add it to this record. So Yep. And then, just to touch on lunch contacts again, because I know this is a hot topic. When you have a lunch contact, this is what's set up. So it's the same household, but you set this up so that dad can, say you have 3 children in your household. That way dad can add money one time to cover all 3 kids. That's why you would create a lunch contact, so he can add money to all of their accounts at one time. Same thing with the fee contact. When you create a fee contact, it's just labeling this original contact with just one more hat, if you will. And when dad is a fee contact for this student, dad can pay fees associated with this student and perhaps more students. So maybe dad is also the fee contact for John's siblings, Susie and Bella. So then he would be able to add money for all of them. Do you want to say it a different way too, Lois?
I was
Might
gonna
be
say,
helpful.
just the easiest way to see that is when you go to his contact, whoever's listed under him is who would be linked to that fee. That's who he'd be able to pay for. So if you went back to his regular primary one, that's who's gonna be linked, and he can pay for all 3 of those kids. The lunch, all 3 of those kids, it'll be at once.
That's super helpful.
Yeah.
And if there was ever, I know some of the households too, if you had a household where you didn't want to have you don't have to have a lunch contact to add money to a student's account. You don't need a fee contact to add money. It's just a grouping. If you have a lunch contact or a fee contact, that's grouping multiple kiddos under your household. If for whatever reason you had a unique situation and you did not want that, you can still, as a primary, of course, add, but it would be for each student individually. Did I explain that well, Lois, or is there another way to explain that?
No, I think that explains it well. Yep. It groups them together.
Yep, it groups. So, but if you had a unique household, say divorced parents, I know we get that question a lot, a divorced parent, and, there's some, if you just don't use them, it's fine. You would just have to, like I said, add money to each student individually. It's just it's helpful to a lot of families. It's not a requirement. Do we have any questions popping up?
I haven't had any pop up yet.
All right. Well, that was the webinar. So take a minute. I know this was a really short and quick webinar. I'm going to go through the other slides, but we really just wanted to touch base on contacts because I know we get a lot of questions, and I know every SIS is a little different on how they're set up. I do like the way JMC has it set up, where it's based on a household and it's very customizable to fit each unique situation. And I think that's really awesome. All right, let's talk about upcoming events. Sign up for the teacher office homepage and use the widget for the December weekly webinars. Next week is all about 2-factor authentication. I didn't say that right, authentication. That's a big thing coming up. I know a requirement on a lot of websites. So we'll be talking about that the next week. Becoming a JMC Teacher Pro. JMC teacher preferences in the JMC office. So again, encourage your teachers to sign up for this, or at least, if they sign up, then the recording's sent to them. Some helpful tips for teachers. The third week is preparing for new family enrollment. Now, this is a great feature. Again, this is very similar to online enrollment, but this is for brand new families to the district. And then week 4, very exciting, getting GATE ready. GATE is the additional feature where ticket takers can help allow students to enter or not enter activities based on things like attendance or grades or what have you. We have some promotions from our annual summer conferences to all of our newest innovations. JMC wants to thank you for being a part of it. Join us on Wednesday, January 11th at 12:30 to take a look at all the excitement that happened in 2022, but that's not all. For every webinar attendee, you'll get 1 entry to win a JMC Hot Chocolate Survival Kit. That's awesome. As well as bonus entries throughout the webinar. Happy holidays and cheers to a great 2023. Refer a friend and reward your school. It's back, folks. Now through March 2023, we're offering schools a discount to refer their friends. For every school you refer to JMC and they sign up for our software, we'll give you a $750 scholarship for your district. If you have any questions, email our sales team, sales@jmcinc.com. We are hiring. We are looking for 6 passionate part-time client service specialists in Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. As a client service specialist, you'll develop meaningful relationship with our users through communication, training, and support. In return, we offer a competitive salary and opportunity to work remotely. See the full job posting for further details. To apply, email your resume and letter of introduction to HR@jmcinc.com with job application in the subject line. And that's what the 3 of us are. I know Denise, Lois, and I, we all also wear the CSS hat for our area. Be social with us. Another great way to stay up to date all things JMC is through our social media presence. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and our blog. All right, and thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.